Recording.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another little review again, of course, because why wouldn't it be? You've read the title, you know what it is. Uh, it's me again, of course. No Morgan once more. He didn't. He doesn't. Nah, bless him. He's fine. He's busy. He's got a life. We don't. So it's me again, of course. Always here, never leave. Also joined by someone who's always here and never leaves. Amelia, of course.
Hi.
Yeah, she's here as well. She was one of the other two people who had to sit through this film alongside me, which is a pointless bit of information I gave out. So I could have said she's one of the two. She's the other person alongside another room full of people who went to watch this film. So, of course, as you've seen in the title, we are reviewing today a certain little-known film called Cocaine Bear. Oh my fucking god. This is.
Do you know how awkward it is to ask for tickets to this film?
Yeah. The entire experience of this film is a fucking clusterfuck from start to finish. Because poor Amelia here had to ask the. I mean, we're not the only ones, obviously, but you don't think how awkward it is walking up to some cinema employee and be like, "Can we have 2 tickets to see Cocaine Bear?" Because of course you felt so awkward doing it because it's just like, what the fuck. So yeah, we went to see this. This film was directed by Elizabeth Banks. I'm not familiar with her work. I haven't really looked at what she's done. I will warn you that Silver is in the room with us while we're recording, so he may scream his head off. So that'll be fun. He wants to be part of the review.
He's having a loo break at the moment, so he gets really happy and excited after he goes to the loo.
Yeah, he has a little scream. He has a great time. So, as I say, the film was directed by Elizabeth Banks. It says here she was involved in one way or another with the 2019 Charlie's Angels and Pitch Perfect 2. God. Also this 2002 Spider-Man and the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. So, okay, there is quite a bit. Okay, I'm not going to list them all off. If you want to look her up, look her up. I don't care.
That sounds great, I don't care.
Well, no, I've given you some rough ideas. If you want to have a look into a bit more of a deep dive into what she's done. So this film obviously came out. When did this come out? Was it literally yesterday?
I think it was because it was the same day.
Yeah, obviously we live in the UK, as you're fully aware. If you couldn't guess by the accent, of course. Oh, Silver's dinner has arrived. His servant has brought him some sustenance. This film was also written by Jimmy Warden. I don't know who that is either. It's not. No
But we
way.
don't have the luxury of a shed in the back garden, okay, guys?
Yeah.
We don't have soundproof walls. We live in a very temperamental house.
We live in a house where there's another person and 4 cats who we have spoken about and have all appeared in videos in one form or another now.
Mm-hmm.
Silver is involved in the reviews. Stasi is your image in the thumbnails for the reviews.
Silver's also been on my channel on my videos.
Silver's been in your videos, but that's not this channel, is it?
Mm-hmm. No. Mm-hmm.
And obviously, Tiny and Smitten have made little appearances in the Lego videos. Anyway, back on track. This film I did not have the biggest of expectations for. A film that is literally just titled Cocaine Bear, which, as I've said, it sounds.
It says what it says on the tin, you know.
If you're going
full of cocaine.
If you're going into this film expecting anything except a bear to be off his face on cocaine,
It's a
can't
she,
go.
actually.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's a she.
She has cubs.
mini spoilers there, but spoilers throughout, of course.
I thought it was a male up until we saw the cub. So yeah, we're now extinguished.
So Eddie says her vagina is on my head. Anyway, that is a line out of context for you there. So, of course, if you're going into this thinking it's going to be, well, definitely not family friendly.
It's a 15, I believe. So
It's a 15, and they get away with a lot of gore, despite it being a 16. Also, Jesus, Ray Liotta died on your birthday. Anyway, sorry, yeah. So, of course, spoilers throughout. We're going to be getting straight into it because how am I not supposed to? How were we not supposed to review a film that's about a fucking bear on cocaine? So, straight into it. We'll go right into this because we're not going to mess around. We've got a little bit to get through.
Okay.
Well, I say a little bit. I've got 2.5 pages of notes and
So
a lot of the cast.
just want to give a shout out to whoever wrote the post, like scene saying that it was a true story. Because we start off with it giving a little information about how bears are.
Oh yeah, we have our little like just as the credits rolling, you get a little quote saying about bears, and then the source is Wikipedia. At the end.
Yeah, and I've been told lots of times to not trust Wikipedia, and that it's not the best website to use.
No, that's because I don't know if you know. It can literally be it can be edited by anyone, and doesn't really need to be proof. Like it doesn't need proof to be like confirmed, basically.
Yeah, so yeah, Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's a nice little joke just to show that most facts probably are from Wikipedia rather than like actual sourcing. So after our credit scene, we meet the one and only. We get our obviously this isn't our main characters, but you know at the start of films, there's always the characters that are basically written in to die.
Like your opening scene, really.
I can't remember what it's called. A cold open.
Mm-hmm.
It's to set up the story, but it isn't really important. However, this one
I kind of felt that you needed it though.
you do need it.
How the cocaine
Kind of understand. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, sorry, no, no. The movie before the credits, I just completely skipped it. Before the credits, we have the drug drop scene with the real, not the real person, but the character of the real person who is. Oh, I can't remember his name.
So this is meant to be based off a true story.
It's based off a true story for about 5 minutes. Because when I came out about 10 minutes like after we'd seen it, I was just like, yeah. So Andrew Thornton, who is the real narcotics officer who was responsible for dropping the cocaine, played by Matthew Rhys. I don't know him from much. He is from a TV series called Brothers and Sisters and The Americans. Cool. Oh shit! He's married to the mother in this.
Oh.
Thank you, Wikipedia. Typically. Yeah, that's a nice little thing. He's basically throwing cocaine out of the plane, setting up the plot, which is what he really did.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing duffel bags of cocaine out into the forest to be picked up by whoever, really. He basically throws. Does he throw it all out, or does he throw most of it out?
No, I'm pretty sure it's a lot because throughout the film, the one who's
They do keep finding more.
So I think there's quite a lot of bags gone, weren't there?
Yeah, it's not a big plane, but it's like just a small, like as a cockpit. There is a tiny cargo plane, but not big enough that it's like you can fit a car in there.
There would be millions of cocaine on it that way.
There was a fuck ton of cocaine, and it all gets thrown. It's a lot, and the bear does eat most.
He's off his face, just throwing them out of the plane, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like dancing to himself. He's having a great time. He's just going, yeah, as he's just slinging crack out. So of course, this is different to what happened in real life. Is he goes to jump out himself, bangs his head, and knocks himself out. when in reality what happened is he just jumped out normally and the parachute didn't work. But in the film, he knocks himself out so he can't open the parachute. So that's how the film begins. You don't see him fall. He sort of bangs his head and slips, and out he goes. But we find his body a bit later on, not being eaten by the bear, surprisingly. But then we get the credits, as we said a minute ago. So it's just because that whole scene in my notes is just one line. It's just movie begins with drug drop. I can see for a lot of this scene. Starzy is at the door and he's not pleased. It's like, I want to talk about Cocaine Bear. So the credits end. We just discussed that. If I had the tools, I would go back and edit it so it's in the right order, but I don't. So we meet a Norwegian couple, Scandinavian. We meet us. I don't know. I feel bad. I really should have looked to see their Norwegian. Yes. So we meet a couple, Norwegian couple whose names are Olaf and Elsa because of course it is. Because it's Frozen, and and those two names are quite typically Norwegian-y, I guess. If I guess you could say. Uh, these two. Oh, Silver's back. Silver's back. Yeah, Silver's not in the film, disappointingly. I mean, he would have been killed by a bear, so I'd rather not. Oh, he's walking in front of my notes. Great. Thanks, Silver. Trying to do stuff here. So, after the credits, of course, we meet Olaf and Elsa. Olaf is played by. I'm going to apologise straight away because I cannot pronounce names for my life. But I think I know how to do this. It's Christopher Hivju, who, again, I feel bad if I've butchered that. He is famous for playing Tormund in Game of Thrones, of course. The one who is very horny for Brienne. I don't really need to explain who he is in Game of Thrones because if you've seen Game of Thrones, you know who he is. And Elsa is played by Hannah Hoekstra. Hextra. Again, I'm sorry. Oh, she's Dutch. She's from the Netherlands. So you've got a Norwegian person and then a Dutch person. So these two are like, would you say they're hippies?
Yeah, pretty much. They came across as.
They were a bit hippie, but not like balls to the wall hippie. Oh, thanks for just elbowing the mic.
Sorry.
I appreciate that. I'm sure the audience appreciates that loud bang. So they go to find this beautiful cliff, which is essentially also where the end of the film is going to take place, possibly. Because he basically was like, "I told you I would find it," and the cliff at the end of the film is also like hidden, basically. So they're sort of talking, they're celebrating, and then they spot the bear. And the bear at this point is off her tits. Literally. I don't know if Silver's gone back under the blanket. Silver is just. The bear is seen like really high on cocaine, as in it's rubbing against the tree and then it starts like headbutting it. It is essentially having a fucking fantastic time. So they're watching it. I think Olaf literally calls it demented, which is a nice little fun word. And the bear basically spots them, and they don't they say to the one thing you should never do is run, and then they do run. I think he starts saying, "Remember the one thing you never do is." She says, "Run," and they run. So then the bear comes out of nowhere and tackles Elsa into the bushes. It does definitely kill her here. There's a sort of she does crawl out of the bushes and is like, and Olaf is like, give me your hand, and no, she obviously gets dragged into the bushes by the bear and killed. It's left It's mostly off screen, but then weirdly, twice in this film this happens. The severed leg gets thrown out, which is like it's, it's definitely to be like, oh yeah, she's definitely dead.
Mm.
But Olaf manages to succeed in fleeing while his I don't know if it's his wife or his girlfriend, if you want to say. Well, basically, Elsa's getting mauled, and he's just like, yeah, fuck that, boy.
He literally runs, doesn't he? So
Yeah, he does a runner
just to get
screaming his head off. He's basically the complete opposite of Tormund. So we then have like your title card of Cocaine Bear, and your cold opens over. As I say, it's different in this film because we do have Olaf return towards the end of the film. Uh, no reason really. He basically comes in to get killed. And off screen. So we have your title card. We then have the scene of the police finding the dead body of Andrew Thornton, who, despite falling out of a plane, was surprisingly well preserved.
Mm.
Because I mean, it isn't like it doesn't show like his mangled corpse or anything like that, but like it is just like a close up of his face, and it's just peaceful. Motherfucker fell out of a plane and splattered on the ground.
Yeah, you'd expect
I don't
some
think
sort of...
I don't think he'd be fine enough to like just have like his head. Maybe his head would be intact, but if he fell out of a plane, he's just going to be a stain on the pavement by that point.
Yeah.
It's not very nice, but somehow he is well preserved. But then we meet two new characters. We get to meet the police for the film, who is Bob and Reba. Bob is a detective. He used to know Andrew Thornton. I don't know if these characters are based on real people or not. Definitely the police. I'm not sure about the others. But Bob and Reba are cops for this film. Sorry, Silver is powering his little head off. He's loving it. He's loving the talk about Cocaine Bear. That is all these reviews are. It's just half of us talking about the film and half of it talking about you. You love the attention. So, I didn't write this down in the notes, but Bob has this tiny little white fluffy dog.
Yeah, she's
That
like, she doesn't really. She comes across as that dog who's like, so I was expecting her to like not walk herself because she's always in this box and shit.
she's what people would call a pampered pooch.
Mm.
So that I wouldn't mention that if it didn't have a little bit of payoff, but it doesn't really still. So we then have another scene where we meet our our character. I would say, other than the mother, whose name I never knew until I looked it up afterwards, whose name is Sari, which I hate because it sounds like I'm saying sorry in an American accent. Could be Sari, anything like that, but she will be called DDM because the whole fucking time it stands for DD's mother, but I just called her DDM because I never knew her name and I couldn't be asked to keep writing DD's mum or mother. So, for a little bit of context, that is what I will be calling her for the whole film. Sorry, I should say Bob is played by. I have the Wikipedia page open still. Bob is played by Isaiah Whitlock Jr., who is famous for playing Clay Davis on The Wire. I think he's also the guy who goes shit. Have you heard that?
No,
Have you heard shit?
we'll get copyrighted if you do
I
that.
won't get copyrighted. I just have a voice line of him going shit. I think it is. If I can find it, I can. No, I'm just finding garbage. Anyway, yeah, he's in quite a lot. He's a good sort of character actor. I just caught the mic then. This is going well. As I say, look, you can see from his Wikipedia, he's in a lot. But as I say, famous for being in The Wire most. So Reba, I couldn't honestly tell you. The Wikipedia page doesn't have a link to her, so Fuck it. Yeah, I do apologise. I will also say she is played by a Eula Smart. As I say, I don't. Apologies to her. I can't find out what she was in really. Uh, and of course, so that's the end of the scene. They come up. They're like, they just basically explain who Andrew Thornton was. That he was a old narcotics officer. And that's about it. It just gives a bit of context for him, and that is the reality of who the real Andrew Thornton was. So, and that I will say now is where the true story ends. Once Andrew Thornton is dead, that's it. Nothing else in the film happens. I mean, technically, except for the bear getting high on cocaine. But in reality, the bear did not go on a murderous killing spree, killing people. The bear simply ate a full duffel bag full of cocaine and fucking died. Did you know that? Did I tell you that before?
No, I didn't know that.
No, the bear does just eat the bag of cocaine and die.
Okay.
As you can imagine, because it's a bag full of cocaine that shouldn't be ingested. Don't do drugs, kids. We'll leave that. We've got to mention that. Don't do drugs unless you're a bear that lives in the forest. In which case you will fucking die. So, after that scene, we then meet a few more of our characters. These are sort of... as I was getting to the point, but other than Dee Dee's mother, this is basically our group of protagonists. So our protagonists basically are David, Eddie, and definitely Dee Dee's mother, but we have a few more characters in here. So David basically meets with Sydney. David is played by O'Shea Jackson Jr. He's Ice Cube's son. He is Ice Cube's eldest son. And actually played his dad in the biopic Straight Outta Compton. Which is pretty interesting to know, isn't it? I mean, of all people to play, get a son. He's in other things, but I'll just leave it with he is Ice Cube's son, the oldest son. Eddie we'll get into in a minute because he's in a different scene. But Gabe is Eddie's son. He is played by, he's not listed on Wikipedia, but I still like to credit the actors, I think. Or not, I forgot to mention Gabe in the fucking notes. I do apologise to Gabe's actor. Like, you did okay, you were in like one scene. And of course, Sydney is played by the late great Ray Liotta. He was in a lot of fucking things. He's a big mob actor, famous for was it Goodfellas? I can't find it. Yeah, Goodfellas. Hannibal. He was the voice of GTA Vice City's protagonist, Tommy Vercetti, I think is his name. I think. If I'm wrong, please don't kill me. But I mostly know him for Billy Handsome in Mob of the Dead. You in Black Ops 2, you have no idea who the hell he is, except for this film. Yeah, fair. Good old boy. May he rest in peace. And made me sad. And who died on your birthday, so you'll forever be your birthday and the day that Ray Liotta died. Oh, was he? Bless him. 67. Wow, that's fairly young. Anyway, we won't go into that. So Sydney is revealed in this scene to be Eddie's dad and Gabe's grandfather. Sydney is essentially a drug lord. Well, no, he's not even a drug lord really, because he says that his life's on the line if he doesn't get the coke bag. He's not a drug lord, but he's higher up than David and Eddie. So we then get the issue I have here is there's scenes that are introducing characters, but they don't work together. Like you have the scene of we meet Bob and Reba, then we have the scene after with David, Gabe, and Sydney, and then straight after that we meet Dee Dee, and also Dee Dee's mother, DDM. And then after that we also meet Eddie. It's just like character, 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 character. Which did bother me a little bit, but not enough to really care. It's characters, you got to do it one way or another. So yeah, as mentioned, we have that little scene. They sort of talk about what's been going on with the cocaine, and obviously Sydney's still looking after Gabe. Gabe plays a bit more of a prominent role. He's not in the film after this, but it's basically for Eddie to get more irritated with Sydney because Sydney is a piece of shit. Because he just leaves Gabe somewhere to go find the cocaine, and Eddie's just like, "What the fuck are you doing? You okay? You just listen to me talk. Do you want to speak?"
Sorry, that's really rude if I just butt in while you're talking.
Well, you can like give your opinions and stuff. You don't just have to listen to me. You are here as well.
You have a interesting part, yeah.
Oh well, yeah. No one's dying yet, so it's just as I say, it's just characters. We meet Dee Dee, who is a child actor who's played by a child actor who isn't actually terrible for a change, and so is Henry later on, who we will get to. They were actually kid actors that I didn't want to punch in the face because I can't stand children actors because they're fine. I know you need them, but there are a lot out there that are given roles that are a bit too complex for a child. Have we covered a film where I've said I hate kid actors? Probably Black Adam. I didn't like the kid in that.
There wasn't Megan, was there?
Oh yeah, Megan. I didn't. The kid in Megan I didn't like because she was just whining the whole time. Oh god. Right. Anyway, we also meet Eddie at the bar. He's pissed. He accidentally lets slip about the drugs being in the forest and that they work for the Stasi's at the door again. You're gonna have to wait, Stasi. We're busy. So yeah, he's pissed. He's eating penne. He has a for no reason. He really has a tattoo that's spelt wrong. I think it's just for comedic effect.
Yeah, but it's because his girlfriend died and it was meant to be Joan.
Yeah, but it's a John. Oh, stop! I've got to concentrate. Stop playing with the cat. He's trying to nibble on a bit of string. Anyway, so in this scene does help because it lets Eddie accidentally lets slip too loud that there's drugs in the woods, which basically tips. It doesn't tip Sydney off because he's already aware, but it tips Bob off, Bob and Reba, so they go investigate later on. Dee Dee is shown to be living in the woods, the exact woods that obviously the cocaine bear lives in. We meet Henry as well, who's basically he does have a crush on her because he's trying to be tough, but it's not enough that you're like, oh, this is cringe. This isn't Halloween Ends level of crush with what's his face, Corey.
Ugh, too much.
This was definitely a much better film than Halloween, and Halloween like triple the budget and like name power alone. Basically, them two are meeting up together so that they can skip school and paint a waterfall because DDM didn't want to. Dee Dee's mother. I have said that. If you're going to get confused, get confused. I have explained it. I'm not going to explain it twice. I just did. Anyway, DDM basically said that they can't do it, so they're going to have to do it at some other time. Lost where I was. Yeah, they're skipping to paint a waterfall.
Mm.
Like, it's a waterfall, bro. It's got water. It's gonna wash that shit off. But we later find out this is the waterfall where the bear and her cubs live.
Yeah, I was confused about painting the waterfall, so I was just like, what?
It was weird, but it was more of a reason for them to make their way over to the finale. Basically. We then meet Ranger Liz as well in a new scene. She doesn't serve much plot purpose, but
Do you know, like, if any of you watch EastEnders, do any of you remember Heather Trott? Because she really reminds me of Heather Trott in EastEnders, and she did look a little bit like her as well.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Because I was
I
sitting
feel like I know who it is, but
being like, it's the actor who played Heather Trott.
oh, her! Yeah, that does look quite a lot like her.
Do you
Yeah,
see what I mean? The resemblance there.
yeah, it's in a way, yes.
So that's why I got really confused because I was like, is because I don't know the name of the actor, so I was like, is Heather Trott in this?
She does a really good American accent despite being
It's
British.
like I'm sure she.
I think she did,
I'm sure
yeah.
looks really bad now.
Anyway, it's not Heather Trott from EastEnders, which is a British soap that's been going on for like
No, but it's another
a
lady
couple of
who
decades, I think.
another lady similar,
Yeah,
very similar in that
yeah.
head.
I forgot to say, Dee Dee. Dee Dee is played by Brooklyn Pierce. I think this is one of her first films. We have that with kid actors, as there's a lot of not no-name actors, but it's a lot of films where it's like their first real sort of project. Henry is played by Christian Convery. Again, don't know, but I want to credit as many actors as I can, if possible, until we get to a film where there's too many characters for me to care about. But Dee Dee's mother, sorry, is played by Kerry Russell, as mentioned earlier, who is married to the guy who played Andrew Thornton, the drug guy. Sorry, we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm very tired. We did watch this film after doing a very long thing yesterday. So, and then I had to get up early today. We've had a long couple of days, haven't we? But at least we got to experience this fucking mad film. I will get there. I will do my best to credit whoever there is. I should really tick it off so I'm not just confused, but I don't care enough. So, Liz is basically getting ready for a date. She's putting makeup on. She's spraying herself down. She's getting ready for a date. She's getting ready for some dick. So, I've already not credited Liz, even though I'm talking about her after just saying that I haven't. Liz is played by Margot Martindale, which I'll be honest, I thought was the lady from the American Horror Story series. It could be. I did try and look, but I didn't enough. She's also from the Americans, which is interesting, because obviously that guy from earlier was. She does look like her. She was in something else that I've seen, and it bothers me. But I won't. I will scroll through while I'm talking. But oh, she was in Twilight. Whoopee. Does anyone care about that film at all? It's about 20 years too late. She was in Hannah Montana the movie as Grandma Ruby.
That's probably where most of us will recognise
That may be people around our age. Oh, she was in Cars 3 as Barnstormer. I'll be honest, I don't remember. Law and Order in one episode. But yeah, basically, a bit of a character actor. Again, that's basically most of the cast, to be honest. So she comes out and there's this awfully dressed kid. Well, he's not even a kid. He's like a teenager. But he's wearing shorts, a puffer vest, and a cap that isn't big enough. It's like a child's hat. He looks like a kid who grew up but didn't get a fresh pair of clothes. Weirdly, when I tried to find out the character's name, because the whole film I thought his name was Bud, because everyone in his little gang was calling him Bud, but one of the only gang member who survives basically explains that they all call each other Bud, but he does say that he met Joe and Rocky, but it doesn't clarify which one is which. But that's his two other friends, so Joe or Rocky. But he is credited as Vest, so that is what I will be calling him. So Vest is in there. He doesn't look like a troublemaker. Like this little gang of his are not threatening at all, except for the fact one of them has a knife and one of them's fat.
They like to think that they are, but
They like to think they're hot shit, but they're really, really not. So I initially thought this was just going to be a nobody character, just there to be useless, but no. Everyone who's in this film is in it for a reason, which is good, because there are a lot of films where I'm like, what's the point of this character? I mean, half of them, or even three-quarters of them, are in it to die. Let's be real. But there is no one I thought, well, that character was pointless. Like, what purpose did that serve for the story? But no, everyone, for a change, was in it for a reason, and a reason that I did enjoy, even if it is just to die. And weirdly, fucking hell, no characters in this film irritate me at all. Not even the kid characters. Silver is staring out at me from the blanket because Amelia is petting him instead of talking about the film.
what? The kitty needs cuddles.
I know the kitty needs cuddles, but he gets cuddles every day, all day.
He's the super senior, so he deserves cuddles.
How old is he? 19 now?
He will be 19 this year, actually. He's 18.
He's an old boy. His
face is going to sag even more this year.
You need to get plastic surgery, handsome. Anyway, so yeah, that guy is there. He sort of steals some stuff because he's just a dick.
But the thing is, she's not stupid though.
She's not stupid. She's fully aware that he's doing it.
But she's too.
But he does manage to flirt her into distracting him and giving him a lollipop, which is a bit creepy and it's very strange.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, she tells him to fuck off once her date arrives. Her date does arrive. His name is Peter. He is played, who I recognised immediately by the voice, a bit by the face, but he's under makeup and a wig and a fake. I think it's a real moustache actually. He is played by Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who you didn't know, but once I explained it a little bit, he plays. Ironically, his character's name is Mitchell in Modern Family. That's what he's famous for, so that was really weird seeing him in this. He does a great job in this film. He's very campy, he's very silly, but not enough that I'm just like, well, this guy shut the fuck up. So he shows up, they sort of flirt a little bit. That got not with Vest, obviously, but Vest is gone by this point. So we then cut back to the kids. The kids are now sort of in the woods. They're playing, and they find cocaine. They find the cocaine, and they do cocaine because Henry's doing the typical like tough guy talk of being like, "Yeah, I do it all the time." Me and this other guy who's not in the film, sir, not appearing in this film. That's a little Monty Python joke for y'all. But yeah, they do. He does that, and then Dee Dee goes, "Oh, yeah, fine. If you're not going to do it, I'll do it." So she does cocaine. They both do. I don't think she does the cocaine. I think she gets it all out. But Henry definitely does, because of dialogue later. He doesn't like go loopy and start eating people like a certain bear. But it's enough that he actually feels it. But while they're doing this, the bear is then lurking around behind them. The bear, surprisingly, does not attack these little snack bite human beings.
No, she leaves them alone, doesn't she?
She does leave
They
them alone.
managed to get away. Henry managed up a tree.
They do get attacked, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They get attacked. Henry escapes up a tree off screen, and Dee Dee isn't really. She is dragged away. No, she's chased off, isn't she? Because they. Yeah, sorry. Please be aware we saw this yesterday. I have forgotten a few like not key bits of information, but little bits of information. She goes a long way for a kid, and that bear does chase her.
I mean, we haven't forgotten about the bathroom scene, have we?
The bathroom scene is coming.
Okay.
Because yeah. bathroom scene is common. That is a great scene. Nobody dies.
I think
So
that's my favourite.
it was hilarious, and I loved it. Eddie and David, they arrive in the truck. This is basically the point in the film where everyone is beginning to arrive in our central location for the rest of the film. So Eddie and David then arrive. No, Eddie and David are driving down the road in the truck,
Mm.
and obviously Eddie is crying because the song's playing about that was his girlfriend's favourite. And basically calls David not his friend, he's just a drug dealer that he works with. Which you can tell hurts David. So Dee Dee's mum then arrives at the ranger cabin. She bikes there, so clearly I hope she doesn't live far. Because I would not fucking bike from the middle of fucking nowhere to a cabin in the woods. She then basically recruits Peter and Liz into a little search party to go find Dee Dee. And they just leave as David and Eddie arrive. As they walk off, they then pull up in their truck. So quickly, David says he needs to go to the toilet. This is the bathroom scene. Brilliant scene. And I have Guy from earlier, but Vest then arrives with the rest of his little gang, if you wish. It's literally two other dudes. They are credited as Stash and Ponytail. And again, these characters are important for plot reasons. This isn't just bullshit. So they basically threaten him, and he's like, "I don't give a shit. What are you gonna do?" He literally is. They're trying to mug him essentially, and he reaches into his pocket and flips them off.
Yeah, because he thought that well, they thought that he was gonna willingly just hand over whatever he had.
They thought he was an easy target, but O'Shea Jackson is a big guy. He's not gonna like go down without a fight. So he basically kicks the living shit out of them. Like he beats the fuck out of them, like genuinely. Like these I will say, Ponytail is the biggest of the lot, and he still gets the shit kicked out of him. But Vest and Stash are the most fucking feeble little men you've ever seen. They are skinny, there's no muscle.
Mm.
Like, I think Vest even jumps on David's back at some point. And he does stab him. He stabs him in the back, but David does not give a shit. It does give a shit, actually. It just ruins his favourite football jersey, I think it is. But that's it. He doesn't care. And he finds out they're carrying a brick of the cocaine. Why they're carrying a single one? I know what you're looking at. Ignore it. And the audience will never know what it was. Anyway. So he kicks the living shit out of them. They're carrying a coke. He does knock them all out. And Eddie does come in and is like, "What's taking you so long?" And then he sees them all, and he's like, "I'm dead." And there is a point. He's like, maybe," but no. A key bit of information is they do all survive this part of the film anyway, not the rest. The little whiny one. The little whiny one who Stash. Stash is probably despite not being too big of a character, he is probably the most important of the lot. And as I said earlier, he does survive the film, which we'll get into right at the end.
That's really saying personality try to be really, really hard and then whiny, emotional person.
He's a coward, really. So it doesn't take him long. They basically they interrogate Stash. David basically threatens to shoot him and then quickly caves in. He gives up the location of the coke, which is under a gazebo. So he's like, "Cool, you can come with us and tell us where it is." So that then leads this new group into the woods as well. So for those playing at home, that means DDM's group is now in the woods, but now also David is with a member of Vest's group. So there you go. So This is when the movie takes the turn of motherfuckers are gonna start dying. As simple as that. This is basically Act Two. You've got all your characters, you got everything. Now is when the stakes are a bit more at play, and people are gonna start dying. So Liz's group come across Henry, who has really got up a fucking tree though. He is a considerable height.
Yeah, he's got amazing climbing skills.
He is like George of the motherfucking jungle, just not played by Brendan Fraser, unfortunately. Who is, a little side note, a fucking legend. They're a bit confused. Henry tries to tell them that the bear is fucking crazy, and they're like, "You must have done something to startle it. That doesn't make sense."
They can't believe a bear would actually cocaine and become a drug addict at that point.
This bear does become a drug addict.
She's constantly looking for all the cocaine in her neck.
Yeah, and she doesn't care what she needs to do to get it. I'm tucking my t-shirt down. So they are swiftly ambushed by the bear because there is a big pile of burst cocaine packages in the bushes. Surprisingly, for now, everyone survives. And I've got a little tally. Henry's still up the tree. Liz is like dragged around a bit. Survives. She survives a lot in this film, but does not survive the film. She has like her ass, she literally stands up and her ass cheek is like been clawed into. Like her ass isn't out, but like the bit of her trousers covering her ass. It's disgusting. It's brutal, but it's just been clawed. She does a runner. Peter then has also escaped up a tree. He fell into the cocaine, so he's a bit buzzing off his face. And Dee Dee's mum is left on the floor. So, Dee Dee is then hiding behind the tree that Henry's under. The bear then starts going up Henry's tree.
The thing that I love about this is this bear is trying to go after this child, but then obviously she gets a whiff of the cocaine on the other person.
Yeah.
Who's also up the tree because he was like, "Oh, where's the best place to hide?" And he was like, "Bears can climb trees."
Yeah, Peter's like, they can climb trees. And then it starts climbing Henry's tree. But then, unfortunately for Peter, great for everyone else in this film, Peter, who fell into the cocaine, is covered in cocaine. That the bear whiffs it, looks at him, and he realizes he's covered in cocaine, which is very unfortunate. Big F's in the chat for my boy Peter. The bear just gets off that tree and goes up Peter's one. Unfortunately for Peter, Peter isn't the main character in the film. This is technically our first real kill of the film. Because the bear literally like gets on him and starts like she knocks him, but the weight of her is keeping him up in the tree, but he's sort of dangling off. And the whole time I'm thinking
his legs being chewed off, and I was like, "That's really."
It is disgusting.
Thank God that by the time the film got to the kill point, I'd finished my milkshake that they do and a small popcorn. So luckily,
it's a good thing you didn't have like a strawberry milkshake. Yeah, so Peter's sort of knocked upside down. The whole time I'm thinking he's going to split in half. I'm thinking she's going to like rip the bottom of him off and he's just going to fall out. He does fall out. It's really good. Bear like knocks Peter out of the tree. He lands on his head, so he's fucking gone. He lands on his head and then the bear basically spits his leg out and it lands next to him. So yeah, that is definitely the end for Peter. There is no going back on that shit. Excuse me. It eats him a bit more, doesn't it? It doesn't a lot, but it nibbles on him a bit.
She's a proper drug addict at this point.
She is definitely a crack addict.
I don't think
No. And honestly, the Peter was a bear expert, but he definitely seemed like a rehab counselor. Like the long hair, he wasn't a hippie, but he was close. So, that's it for that scene. I think she does chase after DDM and Henry, but off screen. Oh, that's the end. I've turned too many pages. So Liz eventually makes it back to the Ranger's cabin where she finds Vest and Ponytail. Vest and Ponytail are talking about how they had the shit kicked out of each other. Kicked out of each other. Kicked out of them by David. And they're talking about their own like experience with being attacked, but by different things. But they think they're on about the same thing.
Mm.
But then when she says it's a bear, they're like, "What the fuck?" So
this is where there's like a lot of entertainment in like a good, few minutes. Because obviously the bear turns up.
this is where they start killing off some of this cast they've brought in. So they're found in the hut. She basically yells at them to shut the door and don't open it for anyone. She loads up her revolver, but she has a revolver with her, I should have said, because of these guys specifically. Did they have nick bullets? Because she has like a case that's empty.
Yeah, I think they were in the process of nicking stuff around.
Either they nick the bullets or she just doesn't have any more bullets. But she basically tells them to shut the door, and when she tells them to open the door. So she tells Ponytail is the unfortunate one who has to open the door. He opens the door. The bear is sat there like a dog. It's sat there, it literally is sat there on its ass, its tongue hanging out, and
this is the next brutal. Like,
Liz shoots and blows a massive fucking hole in Ponytail's head. Like literally the left top skull, like part of his skull, blown out. And she's just like, not like, she's in shock, but not enough. But Vest is like, Vest doesn't even, Vest is like, you killed him, and that's it. So they hide, the bear goes up on the roof, and they think it's coming down the chimney. It doesn't come down the chimney, because of course not. Fuckface Vest is stood by the door, which is, why would you? Stay away from windows and doors, you moron. The bear rips its paw through the window and grabs his face.
Oh.
You don't see anything, but then because it cuts to the next scene.
It was enough to be like.
Yeah, we do see what's left of him later, and his face is pretty intact. So, Bob then arrives as the bear is attacking them all, because I think it's Liz's hand slaps the window. He's just chilling. He's just drinking this like McDonald's milkshake as he's just arrived, as these people are getting murdered. So he arrives. He then goes. He doesn't go in the cabin. He goes straight into the woods. Weirdly. But then the ambulance that Ponytail and Vest called earlier because because Vest had the shit kicked out of him finally arrives. This is when the good stuff comes, and it's kind of a shame because a lot of this bit was in the trailer, but it doesn't show a lot of the carnage. Like the ambulance was a lot of the marketing, basically. So the ambulance arrives. They're pretty fucking useless. We get to meet the two paramedics, who are Tom and Beth. Tom is played by Scott Seiss, and Beth is played by, I apologise, Ka-Yun Kim. These two are pretty good characters. They do have some good chemistry, and they are funny. So, they look through the window. Somehow they don't see any of the blood on the floor. Or anything like that. They're like, what? I can't see in there.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to open the door, but obviously they've got the dead body from the head being blown out.
Yeah, the Ponytail's corpse is blocking the door, and they're struggling because he's fat, basically. So they're pushing on it, they're pushing, and obviously this guy's corpse is in the way. They go in and they're like, Jesus, what the hell happened? Obviously. Liz, once again, still alive. This fucking woman is alive. How the fuck has she survived 2 bear attacks? She's not elderly, but she's getting there. But yeah, they find her. Beth goes to her aid. Um, and she's doing. She's got the. Liz still has the pistol in her hand, so she's like, "Yeah, get that out of the way. Get that out of the way." Liz is either in shock or she's. Well, no, she can't be in shock or bleeding out because she starts yelling later on again in the end. But she's like in shock enough that she's struggling to say the word bear. So Beth then gets the stethoscope out and starts like just checking her heartbeat. Tom stupidly goes into towards a cupboard that's having blood pouring out of it. He opens the door very slowly. Sees. I don't know what happened to Vest really. You sort of see his leg and then his head falls out of a bucket. It's decapitated head, I should add. Pretty gruesome. So yeah, Vest is dead, obviously. He knocks a broom over, and that brings the bear out of the shadows. And hilariously, Tom slowly shuts the door. He's like, "Nah, I'm good." So Beth is still. Tom's like, "Yeah, we should go." And Beth is checking the stethoscope. Liz takes the stethoscope off her heart, and then she goes, "Bear." But it's loud enough because through the stethoscope, and of course because movie jump scares. That summons the bear to knock the door down on top of Tom, who doesn't die from from a bear on a door flattening him. He nearly does, but he is saved because his paramedic bag is a duffel bag as well, so he manages to distract the bear by making it think it's the cocaine. Not to his knowledge, though, because obviously he wouldn't know about the cocaine.
At this point, Beth had Liz
At this point,
on it.
Beth had already legged it out the door with Liz and strapped her down in the ambulance. Tom barely makes it out. He jumps in the ambulance with him. The bear chases it for a long old time. Liz is trying to shoot at it. At least this time she didn't shoot anyone else.
Yeah.
At least she did that. But she's still strapped down, so her arms are strapped down, so she's struggling to sort of reach, because obviously your hands are stuck. Because Beth did it in a rush, and you can't blame her. The bear chases, and the scene from the trail happens, where the bear jumps, and it's like, oh, is it going to make it inside? Yes. Long story short, yes. And it goes horribly wrong for these 3 poor fuckers in here.
I think Liz's death was the worst.
Liz was horrible. Liz basically gets catapulted out, and she lands on the road and scrapes her face along it. She does survive for like a second, but she is dead. That does kill her. That is enough to kill her. Tom is very unfortunately, basically, gets jumped on. His hand is ripped off. It's not ripped off, but it's like severed enough that it's like hanging off.
Ugh.
It is brutal, and if it's practical, well done. The gore in this is fantastic. He does survive it because the bear. But Beth is so panicked by the bear being in the fucking ambulance, she loses control of the van, smacks into a tree, and flings out the dash, flings through the windscreen.
Mm.
Tom, may I add, is dead. I won't just say he is dead. The bear does kill him. It's a bit off screen because it comes towards him, and that makes Beth crash. But he is dead. Those 3 are now all dead. Liz is finally dead, despite somehow surviving the other 2 attacks. Beth got thrown out and killed instantly, and Tom was just eaten, if you wish. He's definitely dead. He's killed by the bear. She's mauled. And the bear just walks off like it doesn't give a fuck. She doesn't care. She just jumps out and leaves because there's no cocaine there. So, yep, that's 3 more characters killed. As I say, these all serve a purpose, even if it is just to die, which I appreciate. So Bob then arrives at the gazebo that Stash had given the location. Well, is taking David and Eddie to. He notices the cocaine after just sitting down and looking up, which is a bit like, really? Was it that easy to find? And then he makes it up there off screen because David's group then arrives. The little shootout ensues where David has 2 of his fingers blown off,
So
which is disgusting.
I think the worst part was knowing that he weren't going to get those fingers back on, and the other guy had to like pick them up eventually, and the wedding ring.
Yeah, Stash was like, how the hell did he shoot both of them off? They're not even next to each other. So a little shootout ensues, and then the bear arrives, and they don't. Bob doesn't believe them, but the bear arrives. Of course it does.
No.
And that's where she has a little nappy nap on top of Eddie. Because they all drop to the floor and pretend to be dead. And then she just climbs on top of him and passes out.
And this is where we find out whether the bear is also male or female.
Yeah, but it was another scene. So DDM and Henry, they find Olaf, who is, poor bastard, is traumatized, but can you blame him, really? They find him in the woods, sort of having a bit of a breakdown. But he's like, I can show you where the bear is, well, where the bear's cave is. Because they've followed the clues left behind by Dee Dee, which is it was like paint, which they thought was blood. They find a jumper, but along the trail they find Olaf, who is a fucking basket case by this point. But he's still willing to help, so he does still serve a purpose, other than being the cold open kill. As if you're gonna hire Christopher Hivju, you've got to use him, man. He's a good actor. So then we cut back to our gazebo crew, the GC. They're sort of like, is it dead? Is it dead? No, yes, no. They sort of poke it a bit. They see if Eddie's dead. They ask a question about the bear, and he goes, "It's a woman. It's a female. We don't have any they them bears out in the woods." So the bear's on top of him, and he goes, "The bear's vagina is on my ear." Ew. How? For a start, it doesn't climb up enough of him that it should be logically on his ear. But the bear is woken up. Is it? Does it smell cocaine again?
She smelled cocaine again because she then acts like she's asleep.
No, because David calls for a truce with Bob, who's on the roof still.
Mm-hmm.
He comes over, and a brick of cocaine that he got from Stash falls out of his arse. And that's enough for the bear to wake up again. So it wakes up, climbs off, they all sort of shit themselves for a minute, and it eats the cocaine, and it just gets it in its mouth and swallows the whole thing whole. Which is where it goes nice and playful. It's a bit of a silly scene where it's like, why is it now being playful after it mauled people after eating it straight away? So it waits and eats a brick of cocaine. Bob then slices one open and shakes it over the bear.
They make a joke.
Yeah, Stash is like, it's cocaine Christmas. And that's literally what I have, is just cocaine Christmas. So that then distracts it from eating them, and then he throws another brick out into the woods for the bear to. So they once again have the David then goes for the gun he rested on the floor during the sort of treaty. Bob and him are pointing guns at each other, and all of a sudden Bob is shot in sort of the stomach area, but not by David. But David is like, it wasn't me. There was a quick shot. There was a quick shot earlier of Sydney arriving. The boot opens and he pulls a case out. It isn't shown to be Sydney, but it's confirmed here because Sydney is away with a sniper rifle, and he is the one who shot Bob. So Bob's basically lying there. He's going a bit delusional. Um, Sydney then arrives. They have a bit of a. Sydney then goes up to him. They're having a bit of a like bicker about it. Reba then arrives, and Bob's like, "Yes, thank you. I had backup. All that. I called for backup." But of course, Reba is on Sydney's side. It's a little bit of a double cross because Bob gave, while he was away coming here, he gave Reba the dog to look after. But Bob is then like, "Is she okay? Is she good?" And she's like, "Yeah, she's fine." And unfortunately, Bob does die. The only, I was going to say the only like good character, but then I'm like Dee Dee's mother, all that lot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it for Bob. Bob is. There was a moment I thought, well, maybe he could survive. Maybe they'll bring him back at the end. No, he does definitely die in this scene. So the next scene, DDM's little group finds the cave. They leave. They leave Olaf outside because he's like, "This is as far as I'm gonna go," and they're like, "Cool, bye." And then he's like, "What about me?" It's like, you said you were done. Fuck off, mate. What do you want to do? But he does stay outside, and technically that's the last we see of him.
But you hear a scream though.
You do hear him yelling something, but we'll get to that. He doesn't. I don't know what he yelled, but we find out that the bear has had cubs. We also find out Dee Dee is okay.
We also find out that the cubs are cocaine
The
bears.
cubs are also cocaine bears, but they are harmless, which is mostly true for the film. So then Sid's group also Sydney, whichever. Sydney's group also finds the cave, and there's a quick shot where they had found Olaf. Olaf had had his face ripped off. There's a quick bit of it, like Reba over his body, and his face has just like been torn off. And when I read, I was so sad to hear it when I read after. They had everything. They had filmed his death. They had got prosthetics and everything, but they just cut it. Which, why? And I know why, because apparently they wanted the end of the film to be happier rather than depressing. Which, yeah, but you've made a film about a bear that's off its face on cocaine wanting to kill people. And you left out a character that you had established, not established per se, but it was a character that had been introduced and wasn't just a throwaway character. Off-screen deaths happen, but to cut it for the sake of making the ending happier, I don't like it.
The only problem I have with that is because they have one more death after that is near the end as well.
Yeah,
So that didn't make sense.
he is our penultimate death, and the cause of death he has should really have been reserved for our final death. Because the fact his face has been ripped off for such a side character does not mean he should have got that level of death. Because our final death we'll get into in a moment because it's not far away. It's not tame per se, but it's not what you would expect for the character to have. So Reba decides that she's done with it because Sid basically just wants the cocaine and doesn't care anymore. Sorry, excuse me. Sydney does sort of not hold her hostage, but as he's like, "You can go," and as she turns around, he points the gun at her, and David gets in the way. Sid doesn't shoot him or Reba. Reba isn't out of the film, but she will be back at the end. They then go through the cave, they find the exit, and that's where our two groups meet. So DDM's group and Sydney's group. They sort of have a bit of a standoff. They're like, "What the fuck is going on?" There is the duffel bag the bears are playing with. No, the duffel bag in the cave that was stolen earlier from the No, because Bob dies and knocks the rest of the cocaine off, and it drags it back to the bears, to the cubs. He Sydney then packs the rest of the cocaine into the duffel bag that's still in the cave, takes that with him. Um, Basically, he gives that bag of cocaine to the cubs because they kept basically not nibbling at him, but wanting to get to the cocaine because they've also had cocaine. Do a shot every time I say cocaine. But he basically hits them a few times, which is a death sentence. Let's be real. And spoilers, yes, it is. Sydney is our last victim. Because he's the bad guy and he has to die. And yes, that does mean the bear survives and the bear cubs, which did surprise me. She did nearly die. She came very close to dying, but didn't. So the mama bear arrives to defend her babies. David, Eddie, DDM, Dee and Henry all jump. Sydney does manage to shoot David as he jumps for whatever reason, because he's a coward. That he does survive it, as I just said, but it's left to be like, it's sad. Sydney doesn't. Sydney is still up there because he wants to go for a bag of cocaine that's hanging off a branch, which is not a good idea, but it just basically leaves him behind so he can get killed. He does try and reach it. The bear hits him off. He starts hanging from the strap, but he can still kick the bear. No, that does happen. He shoots the bear. The bear before he goes for the coke. He shoots the bear. He shoots Mama Bear. The bear falls off, lands on its back. It's meant to be like she died, which realistically probably should have done. But then cocaine obviously sprinkles down on it and wakes her up again. Because cocaine has magic regenerative powers. That gives her enough strength to get up, attack Sydney. But she slaps him so he falls off the rock and he starts hanging from the bag. He starts kicking that. He kicks at Mama Bear. But Mama Bear just disembowels him, which is not very nice.
That was really gross, just seeing all of his intestines fall out like that.
Yeah, just claws his stomach open, and he slips out of the duffel bag's handle, and the babies start eating his intestines while he's still alive.
That was nice.
So then Mama does eventually just push him off to his... If he survived that, he is dead now because he got pushed off a cliff. So, yeah. We then catch up with the group down in the river below. I will say there is a river below. It is the waterfall. David is revealed to have been shot in the throat, but survives. For the sake of... That's another issue I have, is... DDM is a nurse, and it's mentioned a few times, but it's literally just so that she can magically save the life of David at the end of the film. But as I said, Sydney was our last victim. Got to find my pages. So they basically wash up on shore. They head back to the disaster that is the cabin, because they're just like, the bear's gone now. It's got the cocaine. So Reba then makes her reappearance. She gives Eddie Bob's dog, who she brought with her. Because obviously he's big sad, he depressed. I didn't even say he plays Eddie, did I? I forgot about Eddie. My apologies. Eddie is played by Alden Ehrenreich, something like that. I'm sorry. I will just go through and make sure I have credited as much as I can. Stash is played by... I'm so sorry. Stash is played by Aaron Holiday. Is played by J.B. Moore. Ponytail is Leo Hanna. That is everyone. I'm sorry. I will get there. DDM and company. So everyone sort of goes their separate ways now. So Reba goes back on her own. Eddie and David go back together, and then DDM, Henry, and Dee Dee. There's a lot of D's as well. They go back, they pass the ambulance, and what's left of Liz splattered on the floor. And more police and ambulances arrive because I think Reba said she called in backup or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they basically have a walk into the sunset ending, but not literally, thankfully. And the movie ends with a couple filming the bears who are still off their tits, who then snarl angrily at them, and then it ends. I'm not going to count them two as a kill, even though realistically we probably should. So during the credits, we have another scene where Stash, still alive, somehow has a duffel bag of cocaine and hitchhikes with a farmer and his sheep. He initially slings a duffel bag in the back, but then changes his mind and takes it back out while like glaring at the sheep. Which you were thinking it's going to be, oh, cocaine sheep.
Yeah, it's called cocaine sheep.
And there's another one of Eddie and David reuniting with Gabe, and I want to say Bob's dog. The dog is eating David's fingers, which is, oh, it's off screen, thankfully, but there. And that's it. That's how our film ends. That is Cocaine Bear. Good God. Shocking that I enjoyed this film very much. This film, I was expecting to just be another Sharknado style film, where the budget was low and as a result the quality was. The CG was it was fine.
Mm.
Like the bear didn't look great, but it was passable. It's difficult to CGI an animal when that for the entire film. I think the acting was really good. The gore was spectacular. The kills were very creative. I will get my awards later on. There was some pretty good cinematography, I won't lie, but nothing too stand out. So before we get into our ratings, we've got to give the awards easily. So, before I give my favourite kill, what is yours? Who was your favourite death?
I'm probably gonna say Liz because that was like really painful.
Liz was brutal to watch, and she suffered. She suffered for like the whole fucking film, pretty much. It was brutal. It was horrifying. It was top notch. My favourite, I really struggle with it. Them all so much. I just have to go over it again. I would have to agree with Liz, to be honest. Liz is so brutal, and she has such a fucking build up for it, and it's just great. It's just well done. It's disgusting.
Yeah, they really zoom out as well.
Yeah, that poor woman suffered. And worst kill, while I enjoyed a lot of the kills, there were a couple that were off screen, such as Elsa at the beginning, and technically Vest died off screen. But you do see his body, and that's the payoff. But easily, Bob is my least favourite kill. How about you?
I was gonna say the cop on top of the thing who got shot in the
That is Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob.
Really, it's just like him, as everybody else.
For a film that's about a bear killing people, so just kill. I mean, he's not the one person who gets shot, because Ponytail is shot and his fucking head explodes essentially, which is magnificent, magnificent. But easily Bob on the roof, just because he gets shot in the stomach and bleeds out. Which is, as I say, it's a shame because you've got the premise of a bear killing people. Like, how are you going to kill someone in a non-violent way that isn't a kill by the bear. Because there's only two people in this film that die by the hands of an. But as I say, Ponytail had half his head blown off by a revolver, which I'm complaining about the fact that there's people being shot in a film where a bear is killing people. But what makes up for it is the gore of him having his fucking face blown off. But the issue I have with Bob's death is he literally gets shot and bleeds out. It's a shame, really. You could have had him like fall off and be eaten by the bear. I would have been fine with that. That's fine. And I find it weird how nobody. I hope that Reba told someone that his body is on top of that gazebo, because he's just up there, probably being picked at by pigeons.
Oh, we've got to have tea in a bit. It's going to be carbonara as well.
Mm-mm-mm.
Do that.
He's a pig as well.
Oh.
Yay! Anyway, should we give our ratings on this?
I'm going to give it a 7.
7?
Yeah.
I was going to say probably an 8.
Not enough to own it on DVD. That's how I rate myself.
I would agree with that. I would probably not get it on DVD.
Netflix or you got channel.
It would probably go on Sci-Fi, where Sharknado and that goes, to be honest.
It's on Netflix. To actually have a copy, I wouldn't want to.
No. It's definitely a very silly film.
It's a good for if you want to laugh.
It's one you want if you want to laugh and you're a big fan of gore, but even watching it sober would still be very enjoyable, because the characters are really well written, the gore is excellent, but it's a bit of a. The fact that they called it based on a true story is a bit stupid, because it's not. It's based on a true story for about 10 minutes. Because the bear part's true, and Andrew Thornton is true. But as I said at the top of this, it's the bear does just die. In reality, the bear just died, and they stuffed it and put it in a museum. Yes, genuinely. But
what's the tag underneath it? Rest in peace, Cookie.
I think it literally is called cocaine, but it's not given like a. It's not called like Margaret the cocaine bear. Margaret the bear that ate millions of pounds worth of cocaine and died. It's just literally like a plaque that says cocaine bear. So yeah, we very much enjoyed this film. It's a very silly film that was surprisingly executed really well. It was a horror comedy. It was horror-ish. I wouldn't say directly horror. It definitely leaned more into the comedy side of it. But the horror part was mainly just the gore. And there was a couple of like jump scares, but nothing too interesting.
Because it's something that it's nowhere near the kind of gore that Saw would have. I watched that once.
Saw has a bit less than this sometimes. But yeah, easily it's definitely a good film. Definitely give it a watch. We would recommend it. Just we probably wouldn't get it on DVD. It's one of them one-off films that we very much enjoyed, but we probably wouldn't watch again. But yeah, we very much enjoyed it. It's a good laugh. Watch it with some friends. Don't watch it with your kids. If there's one thing I want to say, don't do drugs, kids, or you'll turn into a bear that eats people. So thank you for listening. Don't do drugs. We've been here talking for easily an hour and a half, probably. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. We don't know what we'll cover. We're going to try and keep this weekly, but it's your turn next week.
Well, Scream is out on the 8th of March.
There you go. It could be Scream. I think that's over a week away, so Scream is probably going to be the week after, so in about a fortnight's time. Um,
Okay.
Stop. Stop it, you creep. There's nothing inappropriate going on, she's just being weird. So yeah, I don't know what it'll be. Next week is her choice of film, so it could be fucking anything at this point. That was Cocaine Bear. See you in the next one.